Allah.
I mean, it kind of works poetically to say. It sort of works poetically to say, like, we created man from a clot of blood.
Allah doesn't mean clot of blood. It's the same issue, the same word. We're talking about the same word here.
Well, you're saying it can have two meanings.
Not two meanings. The original meaning is clinging.
What do you mean the original? Because I mean, why were they always interpreting it as clot of blood?
The word alaqa or alaqa, you have the original meaning and you have the derived meaning, right?
Right.
So you have the spectrum of meaning there. So when we go back to the original meaning, we see this is what it means: a clinging substance. Something that clings.
Yeah, I don't understand if that's the original meaning, like you say. Why was it originally always interpreted as clot of blood?
Because people took that as an understanding of the creation of the human being, and the science at that time was prevalent in the understanding that, okay, you have the menstrual blood forming the embryo. So they thought, okay, this is what the current science says, so we're going to interpret in our language as much as we know, this is what it means.
All right. Yeah. I mean, this thing, like
so now they're coming to the meaning closer to the meaning that it was intended.
Right. So you're saying that was the original meaning.
That's what linguistic. This is the case. We are not going to a meaning where we are forcing an interpretation to correct meaning of the text today in line with current science. Yeah. I'm saying we're going back to the original meaning.
Right.
Rather than
derived meaning. I mean, it's kind of odd that they would not have used the original meaning originally.
You don't need to translate anything because the Quran is in Arabic. So when they describe...
Yeah, I'm not talking about translation, I'm talking about like interpretations, even in Arabic.
So if someone was scientific like this, I mean, no, there are many examples where they've clearly said, okay, this is what the Quran says, but the scientists say this, but the Quran says this.
Yeah. But,
many examples in our literature, they said, this is what the Prophet said, this is what the Quran said, and this is what the scientist says otherwise. And of course they take the Quranic understanding. So people interpret it as much as they can with the science within their particular meaning.
I mean, also I was thinking, like, on the poetically, clot of blood works a lot better than clinging substance. I mean, when, like, Gabriel comes down and the first thing he says to Muhammad is, in the name of your Lord who created you out of a clot of blood, that sounds okay, but who created you out of a clinging substance, it just sounds like, what?
No, you're thinking
what a weird thing to say to someone. He created you out of a clinging substance. I mean, why would God, like, God's angels say that like first thing? Clot of blood sounds like quite poetically good.
How is it poetically good? Because it's describing a particular feature of your creation. So you could have said, God created you from a particular form which is partly created and partly uncreated. It could be any of these combinations, right? Why it's highlighted? Because it's highlighted elsewhere in another ayah which talks about this feature, because we know this is quite an interesting feature of this. Okay, how it looks like a leech, how it clings, and several layers of meaning, and all correct. So this is just highlighted.
Well, apart from the one that they always chose before they changed it, which was obviously incorrect. And the one which is in my Bible, not Bible, Quran, which I got in my bag here, it says clot of blood as well. So I don't know. Maybe some Qurans are interpreting it differently.
You shouldn't confuse the Quran with its translations. The Quran says alaq, and we know what the alaq is. The Quran says from alaqa, we know what it means from our classical dictionaries. Question is this correct scientifically? Yes, it is. That's the end of the story.
Right.
Why go with something and people's interpretation and say, oh, people interpreted it wrongly? People can interpret many things wrongly. At one point, we know some people interpret God's book as saying the Quran says the earth is flat because it says God has flattened the earth. Remember we talked about last time?
Yeah, so
some people believe in it, but it doesn't make this is what the Quran says. This is their interpretation, which is wrong. Right. Other people interpret it differently. And the Quran is not saying the earth is flat.
So why does my Quran say clot of blood?
No, your Quran doesn't say that. Your translation says this.
Well, it's a translation of an Arabic interpretation, isn't it? I mean, the Arabic
text,
the original
is
Arabic
the same.
interpretation. Yeah,
no, the Arabic text is the same.
The Arabic text is the same, but they're
so I want to ask you this question.
They're interpreting the word.
Let me ask you a question
that's what it means, and then they're translating that meaning into English.
In the Arabic text, is there a scientific mistake in it? Let's cut the chase.
Well, I mean, I can't read Arabic, so I have to go by translation.
Okay. So if I would tell you, if you go to the Arabic dictionaries,
Classical
and this is what they say in the classical dictionaries, not today's dictionaries,
Yeah.
dictionaries of the classical times. And if
They're
they
going to
said,
say it's not clot of blood, it's clinging substance.
yeah, clearly.
I'll check that. All right. I mean, the other thing is like this idea of the bones are being developing and then being clothed by flesh,
Yeah.
which that's not like how the process goes.
What do you mean the process doesn't go like that? Are you saying the muscles don't cover and envelop our bones as they grow and develop?
Well, it says the bones sort of come first, and they are clothed.
Why
by
does it say
flesh.
the bone comes first? Why does this say the muscles come first?
That's
It doesn't even say when the muscles comes.
right.
It says how the muscles covers the bones. Does it describe when the muscles come?
Well, I mean, from what I can remember, the implication is very much that it's like it's a process through time where you have bones and then you have flesh covering
The
them.
Quran describes
Clothing
in
them.
several descriptive steps or stages,
Yeah.
from nutfa to alaqa to mudgha to idham to lahm,
Yeah.
and anshanahu khalqan akhar, another creation. So you have this steps, because it's highlighting a particular stage which is descriptively visible and understood. They are different. The stages of nutfa and the stages of alaqa or mudgha, they're descriptively different. You can clearly see and discern how they are different. Just like we have the Carnegie stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and you can see how new features are prominent within a stage.
Right.
The Quran uses similar kind of staging system where prominent features are available in those stages. When the Quran talks about that stage is made into bones and then bones are covered by flesh, does it describe when the flesh or the muscles are formed?
I mean, there's just the use of then sort of.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It talks about how they're covering. So we know this is the case. You have the developing bone, and you have the tendons attached to this bone, and these muscles are forming around the developing bone, and they cover the bone. That's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, well, the sort of muscles develop first, and then the bones come after. But the bones develop at a later stage. But what the Quran
When you say
suggests,
muscles
from what I
develop
can
first,
remember, is it sort of puts it the other way around: the bones and then the muscles.
you just
Clothe the
said
bones.
muscles develop first.
Yeah.
Some say bones develop first. Others say they develop simultaneously. You've heard
Yeah.
all of these claims,
Yeah.
right? What we are
Well,
saying
they
is,
develop sort of, they grow together, but before you get the bones growing, you have a stage where it's just sort of muscles and flesh or whatever.
yeah, but the Arabs considers even the cartilaginous skeleton as bones.
All right.
So,
but that's not the cartilage isn't bone. Is it?
no, not in English, but to the Arabs, yes. To the Arabic language, yes.
Yes, okay.
Right? So we have to understand when the Quran uses a
So
particular terminology.
there's no linguistic differentiation between cartilage and bone.
No, they said even a cartilage is a soft bone, which is a bone. So they have this distinction, but they still consider it to be bone, right? But my point is different. My point is, does the Quran say one comes before the other? The Quran doesn't give you the
From what I
sequence.
can remember, I mean, I didn't write it down.
You should
Like
go
I
and
say,
study
I
further.
didn't get round to like properly.
It's okay,
looking
fine.
it
So we
up,
can perhaps discuss this
Might
another
have to do it
time,
another time.
when you have done it properly, proper
I mean,
research.
I want to do it. It's just I didn't
Please
get
do.
around to it.
Please do. Because this is what happens when people go and look into the YouTube videos between this
Yeah, yeah.
individual and
No,
that
it's cool.
individual.
It's cool
They
that
make
you're-
this
that you've got
mistake.
all these explanations, but,
The apostasy, you know, he was asking me about the apostasy.
yeah,
law.
maybe move on to something else.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I want,
thanks for explaining that.
Okay, I want to know about science. Is there any other issues that is an objection, an
Yeah,
objection
okay.
you
to?
were asking me.
well, you said that when we were talking about this sun setting and the Dulcarnain story,
Yeah.
you said that it was just like describing his interpretation or
His
perception.
perception,
His
yes.
perception. But it does actually say he reached the setting place of the sun, and I mean, the sun doesn't actually set anywhere. Obviously, like there isn't a setting place of the sun. So, I mean, that would imply that what he's actually describing is a particular place where the sun sets. I mean, we know there is no such
Place or time?
place, setting place.
You were interpreting this to mean this is a place rather than time. Because could it be?
Well, this place is not the same thing as time. Is it?
I can go there at the time of sunset, right?
I mean, that. Okay, so
I
he-
can
he
go
walked-
somewhere at the time of sunset. Can I not?
Yeah, you can be somewhere when the
Right.
it's
So,
setting time.
so
yeah.
he finds. Describe what he said because we can clearly read it because the language can tell you that. Okay, why restrict the meaning to meaning?
Do
that
you
a
know
place-
what surah? What,
Surah number 18.
The references in the Quran.
Yeah, Surah 18, chapter 18.
It's not rude for me to like use this Quran, is it? Like as a non-believer.
No.
It's not insulting. Is it?
No. You know, if you want to be insulting, you can. Do you understand? Like, just by doing that, you're not insulting. Because you're,
Oops, wrong way around. 18, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't quite. Do you know which line it is? Which ayah?
Yeah, I'm behind it for you.
But saw the women in London.
Have you actually memorized the whole Quran?
Me, no, not personally.
Because you seem to be pretty good at it.
most Muslims know, memorize a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to. I intend to. I'd like to, but
Is it something you have to do when you're a kid, or can you actually do it?
no, you can do it
Whenever.
whatever.
When you're, I mean, like, because your memory is a bit more.
No, it's not nothing.
Flexible when you're a
It's
child,
nothing to
isn't
do with. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but
Okay. This is how it starts, right? From 83.
Yeah, okay. Dude. So let me just read this one. So here it says, until he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a spring of black money water. So it's talking specifically about a place, right? It's not time, it's place.
Yeah. When it
The
says
setting place of the sun.
no, when it says in the Arabic language, I mean, as I said, this translation that you have,
Yeah.
could it be translated when it says Maghrib al-Shams to mean the time of setting?
Well, I don't know.
Because
I
in
mean, I don't know Arabic, but it
yeah,
says place.
so you
in
can
this
go and
one,
speak
so-
to people who use Arabic language and ask them. When it says أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمية. When he reached Maghrib al-Shams, can Maghrib al-Shams mean the time of setting as well as place, one or the other? Because this is describing Dhul Qarnayn. He finds, look, وجدها تغرب في عين حمية. He finds it setting. So this is what we're talking about, perception, his perception. As he's traveling, he comes to a place where the sun is setting and he finds the sun setting in that
place.
spring.
I mean, the setting time, like the time. Okay, well, the sun sets
Because
every
he's
day,
traveling.
so obviously.
No, look, he's traveling, right?
What kind of
At-
story
at
would say
what-
when he reached the setting time of the sun? Like, that doesn't even mean
no,
anything.
it talks about you come to a point when, for example, if I travel,
Yeah.
I could stop at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, there's no sunset.
Yeah, but
it
it's
talks
going
about.
to be 3 o'clock every day, isn't it? Whatever, like.
But in his travels,
6 o'clock.
the people that he met, he's describing a particular group of people that he met at a particular time and a particular place.
Yeah.
What time, place? This is the time when the sun was setting. This is what is meeting them. So he's describing about them, that he's meeting them when the sun is set, and this is the people, and he describes these people, what the issue is about the people.
Kind of. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Like,
So
a
when I
story.
describe, look, you're
He was
thinking,
travelling, and when the sun set, he found a bunch of people. No, I mean, it's specifically talking about a place.
when I travel and I reached that place during sunset and I found the sun setting in this beautiful ocean.
Well, in a
right? Can I
black,
not describe it that
muddy
way?
Water in a spring of black
No.
muddy water.
I'm describing something differently. I traveled and came to a point when the sun was setting and I found the sun setting in a beautiful ocean.
Yeah.
Now, what's wrong with my description, what I just said? People describe this in
Well, I guess I mean, but that's not what it says here. So.
No, this is a similar kind of description when he was traveling and he found at the time of sunset, he found the sun setting, not in an ocean, but in this spring. And he found a group of people and he describes what happened to these people.
Okay.
I don't find anything objectionable.
Well, I mean,
it's
I know
only
if you-
when
if you wanna
it's only
interpret-
no,
if you
it's
wanna
not
interpret
interpreting
place
it.
as time,
I'm not
you can,
interpreting
but
it. I'm
it's
just
not
saying
what
what
it
the
says.
Arabic describes. To me, this is what the Arabic describes. So it describes that Dhul Qarnayn is the one traveling. He's the one who sees everything. That this is the time the sun is setting, and he finds the sun setting in this particular area, and so on.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense as a story, does it? Like,
It's not a
This
story
is
though.
not. This is not just
Well,
for.
this is
no,
a
no.
little-
This
a
is not
little
just
short
about
story.
history.
It's a short-
This is not just
okay,
about a
history.
story. There's a difference between story
Someone-
and history.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
It's
So
a
it's a history.
misperception.
But then it doesn't even make sense as a
I
history.
need to understand the language is coming down in, and the people it's coming down to. They're not, you know, the time the Quran came down to the Arabs.
Yeah.
If Allah gave it in such a description, like, you know, like nowadays the way we understand.
Yeah, yeah.
To them, it's gonna be, they're gonna be they're gonna be confused. So
Yeah.
it came down in a language that at that time how they understood it. Do you understand? Time difference, timeline.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Not entirely. I mean, like the kind of understanding.
Because it came down in
Yeah,
Arabic,
flat Earth
and remember,
understanding with like a dome over it. That's basically how they understood the world.
yeah, and
And
Arabic.
the sun and the moon were just like these discs or balls or whatever, like just floating around.
How did the Muslims understand it? Did they think there was a dome over it?
It seems to be, yeah.
No. The Quran says, okay, Allah has created this earth without any pillars that you can see, without any pillars that you
Well,
can
why
see.
would you even mention pillars? Like the sky is
Because
held up by
there-
pillars.
because people at that time
He
believed there's
also-
some kind
he
of
says-
dome
he
and
says
things, right?
Allah holds the sky up, right? And it stops it from falling down. Well, that's completely the opposite of what actually happens. Like, what actually happens is that the sky is composed of gas which is held down by gravity.
What's there in between the other bodies and this earth? There's a force, isn't it?
Yeah, gravity and
And
gas.
what is that force? The Quran is describing this force. There is a
No, because
force
what
that God has put placed in there so that things don't collapse by itself.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Clearly.
even, if there was no gravity, the gas would just evaporate. It would just go off into
No, it's
space.
not about gas. We have, between any objects within space, there is force acting.
Yeah.
There is a force. It's not that there's no force between them.
No, I understand, but the description of Allah holding the sky up and stopping it from crashing down, but without the sky not having any pillars holding it up and stuff like that, isn't that magic?
That's not magic.
Well, no, but it's saying like, you know, He's created the sky and you can't even see the pillars that are holding it up. There aren't even pillars holding it up, so Allah's just holding it up, keeping it up.
No, Allah is not holding up
it would
himself.
crash
Does he say
down.
he's
No,
created
he's
he's
keeping it up,
created
yeah.
this, and we know that this is the case. There are forces all around
Figure of speech.
our objects in our
No, because
in our cosmos.
Like I say, what the sky actually is gas which is held down, not
you,
held up.
No, you're confusing
not
sky.
held up, it's held down.
Sky means the sky with nothing in it. The Quran doesn't describe the sky like this. Quran describes with stars and lots of other things and within this cosmos. It's not just gas. The
Well,
Quran
I'm talking about our atmosphere here, yeah.
yeah, the Quran doesn't talk about the atmosphere, does it?
Well,
Why do you assume the Quran only talks about the atmosphere?
I don't know. I mean, isn't it referring to sky?
What is the sky
Holding
according
up
to the
sky?
Quran?
I mean, what is the sky?
Anything
Sky.
beyond this earth is the sky, and this sky can have many things within it.
Why does the
All
why
our
does he
objects
describe-
within
why
our
does he
cosmos
describe
are
the-
connected with
why
each
does
other
he
with these
describe the
forces.
heavens as being having no cracks in it. Why does he describe it as having no cracks in it if it's not a dome?
Where are the cracks within the heaven?
Well, exactly. It says where are the cracks? There are no cracks. You can't see any cracks. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But that's basically implying it's a dome. But I mean, we know
No,
that people
no,
at
no.
the time did actually believe.
You see, do you see
and
your
the Jews
assumptions? Do
believe
you
that
see
as
your
well, that it was
assumptions?
a flat world
Do you see your
with a
assumptions?
dome over it.
But do you see your assumptions? You are forcing an interpretation which is not there. Quran is saying there is no faults within this creation that is created.
There's no cracks in the sky. Why would there be cracks if it wasn't a dome?
Cracks?
Cracks,
Where
yeah,
does
like
it say cracks?
Splits or whatever.
No, why does it say cracks? I would like to see where it says cracks.
Well, I don't have the exact reference.
Okay, I can tell you where it is. Bring up your Quran.
Or rifts. I think it's rifts. Same word.
Because you implying cracks means something is solid and it's cracking, right? That's what you assume.
Yeah, like there's this crack in the
To
sky.
show that all that socialism and racism, this is that is all that.
Probably not best to film this one because I wasn't really
Eventually go and
prepared.
religion will.
You'll learn.
That's just
This is what it says in Surah Al-Mulk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who has created death and life that he may test you, which of the best indeed.
Yeah, can you see any rifts?
And look, was created the 7 heavens, one above the other. Can you see? You can see no fault in the creation of the most gracious. Look again. Can you see any rifts?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's created this. Doesn't say he's created.
Rifts. What does that mean, rift? Well, why would there be rifts in the sky? Like
he says there isn't.
Unless he's talking about.
No,
but
he
he's
says there
obviously
isn't any
talking
rift.
about, like a solid dome.
No, there are people who believed in it having solid dome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
But
the
he's
time,
saying.
it was a common belief.
But he's saying there is no solid dome. There is no rifts.
Yeah,
It's perfect creation, one above the other.
Right, okay.
You can't interpret things from what other people assume. The Quran doesn't say there is a dome. The Quran doesn't say there's a rift. So it says there is no rifts. It's layers of creations.
7 heavens, one above the other. I mean, it's all like, it's heavily implying that you've got this sort of, these levels.
Yeah. What kind of levels?
Like
Why
going
assume?
upwards sort of thing, one above the other. Like domes or whatever, over each other.
What's this dome made of?
I don't know, it's made by God, isn't it?
Yeah. So God doesn't say it's made of something like a
It says it's
a
impenetrable.
dome.
At one point it says it's impenetrable. I can't remember where it is, but it says like an impenetrable. The heavens is impenetrable. You can't go
Is
through.
heaven penetrable now? How much
Well,
can
yeah,
we travel?
you go up in a rocket. You can keep
No,
going forever.
Yeah,
Can't
and
you?
how much
So-
can we go?
Well, right now we can't go that far, but
Right.
ultimately
So
we
you
could-
don't know how
ultimately
much you can go, right?
Well, we've got satellites going out beyond the solar system.
No, that's just here.
So-
But our cosmos is way, way bigger than our.
Yeah, but I
the
mean,
Earth's.
pointing upwards like this, you could. That's up, but that's also up as well. Like that's going out into the universe. as
Wherever
well.
you
Or that-
wherever you go from the Earth,
Yeah.
how far can you go? The Quran is saying at one point when the universe is going to be destroyed,
Yeah.
people, the jinns, the human beings, they will try to go up in the sky to seek refuge elsewhere because the Earth is splitting and so on, right? But God is saying no, they cannot go beyond it because everything will be shattered. If God doesn't give, in fact, this particular verse here, I'll tell you what it says. This particular verse says this.
Just imagine God describe, the specifics, and He gives the specifics in like such technical terms. We won't understand
bro.
it in His
Yeah, but
knowledge.
I mean, the thing is, if he just gives you
Okay,
something
let's
which-
concentrate on
If
this.
he
okay,
gives you a
right?
description which sounds basically like a kind of
Yeah.
flat Earth idea that they had at the time,
Okay.
then you have to think, well, why would he do that?
So let's see, because there are a lot of things which are now conflated. I think the Quran says something and we understand something else. O assembly of jinn and men, if you have power to pass beyond the zones of the heavens and the earth, then pass beyond them. But you'll never be able to pass beyond them except with authority. It tells you totally opposite. That if you want to pass beyond it, you can only do if God gives you the permission and authority. So you can. But what happens, it describes that when the universe is about to be destroyed and everything there, they will go and try to escape from this earth, but God is saying at that time they won't be able to. So here it says here. When the heaven is rent asunder and it becomes rosy or red like oil or red hide, right? Then which of the blessings of the Lord will you both deny? At that day, let me just go to the correct ayah.
It's good that you know where they are. Otherwise, you're completely lost.
Here. Actually, it just carries on that. There will be sent against you both smokeless flames of fire and brass, and you will not be able to defend yourself. So they will go, but still things will be coming at them that they won't be able to penetrate elsewhere, because at that time everything, even the heavens, will be like rosy red.
Yeah.
So he's describing what's going to happen, like it becomes like a molten copper at that time, or a brass. Because in fact the last part of the Quran, if you divide the Quran in 30 parts, the last part has smaller chapters, and they describe vividly how the earth and the universe is going to come to an end. Okay? Many chapters here.
It's okay, you
It's
don't
well,
have to read
no,
it.
I'm not going to read it, but I'll show you. It's interesting to read
I'll
how
have
the Quran describes the status of our heavens and the universe at that point. But when the heavens cleft asunder, heaven. No,
Because so there's 7 heavens, but which?
yes, sama. Sama means
What
anything
are-
beyond this earth. this everything in the sky and everything, all that thing, they'll be all shattered and destroyed.
So heaven, when it says heaven, it refers to the whole universe, right?
Anything beyond this earth.
Anything
This is the
above,
sama.
above the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sama means this is the earth,
Because it says
and
there's
beyond
like
that is sama.
seven heavens. So where are the other heavens?
We don't even know the limit of our first heaven.
It's from the
But it is-
spiritual realm, so we don't
Is it,
know.
okay,
So
but that's
two
the
things-
spiritual
two
realm. So
things-
it's the first heaven, the whole universe.
Two things that are conflated again.
All right, okay.
Two things. Heaven is in paradise. This is not talking about paradise.
Yeah,
It's talking about what's beyond the sky. Yeah, skies. The Quran is saying there are levels of the sky, one over the other. With our current technological advancement, we don't even know the limits of our first
heaven.
heaven
But
or
what I
sky.
meant is when you say first heaven, do you mean like the whole universe?
Anything beyond the sky, there are 7 layers of this. Within this first layer, God has placed stars and constellations.
So it must mean the whole universe.
So it's, when you say whole,
Because that's where all the stars are.
we
isn't
don't
it?
even
honest,
know.
we don't know.
We don't even know
The
by
whole
science
universe
how much
could
is
be
a
the
whole.
first heaven.
Yeah?
Right,
It's
okay.
possible,
It could
you know?
be, yeah.
We don't even know how much the limit of our first heaven, because we don't have the technological tools and advancements now to say how much and what awaits at
We
the
would only
end
be
of our.
speculating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's of the spiritual realm, so we can't.
Okay, I was just wondering.
And the seas shall be burst forth, the graves shall be opened and turned upside down, and so on. Yeah. So this is how the Quran describes
All right.
various chapters.
I mean, it also talks about like the. It seems to suggest that the sun and the moon are both like moving. The moon is following the sun. The moon follows the sun, and they're floating in orbit and stuff like that. So
And it
how does
says-
that work?
It says everything in its own orbit.
Yeah, like it says the moon follows the sun. The moon doesn't follow the sun.
I'll show you.
No, not follow the
I mean, well, like if you look at what happens to your naked eye, you think the sun goes across the sky, then the moon goes across the sky, right?
No, it doesn't. It
But
doesn't. It
that's
doesn't,
not what actually happens,
doesn't
is
say
it?
that in the Quran.
Let's show you what
It's
the
saying
Quran
they
says.
all basically move in their
Let's,
own
let,
orbits.
let's see what the Quran says rather than what you think it says, right? Surah Yasin. My hands are being frozen.
Do you want some gloves?
I've got gloves. So,
Yeah, the sun
glorified
runs
is
on its
he
fixed
who has
course.
created all the pairs that which the earth produces, as well as their own kind, and
Yeah.
of that which you don't know. And a sign for them is the night. We withdrew there from the day, and behold, they are in darkness. And the sun runs on its fixed course for a term appointed. That is the decree of the Almighty All-Knower. And the moon, we have measured for it mansions to traverse, till it returns like the old dried curved date store. It is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor the sun, nor does the night outstrip the day. They all float, each in an orbit.
Yeah, there's another bit where he talks about the moon following the sun, but I can't.
But there isn't. I mean, this is what, as far as I know, this is the verse which talks about
I'll
it.
try and remember-
One cannot
remember
follow
what
the
that
other.
is.
And this is what we know how night and
No, but
day.
it's obviously talking about the sun. Like the sun runs on its fixed course.
Isn't that the case?
It doesn't overtake the moon. Well, obviously, it doesn't overtake the moon. The sun's in the middle of the solar system. It doesn't move. It doesn't move in like. It doesn't actually move across the sky or anything like that. You know,
What does it say doesn't overtake the moon?
sun. It is not for the sun to overtake the moon.
Yeah. So لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر. The sun cannot overtake the moon. Correct.
Yeah, and I mean the sun isn't in an orbit. I mean,
Sun
I
is
suppose
in
you
orbit.
could argue it's in an orbit of the galaxy. But
No,
that's
no, it's not
meaningless.
argue. It is a fact. The sun has its own orbit.
You mean
Sun is not
well,
stationary.
it was not
This is
orbiting
the
planet,
belief
is
of
it?
the old times, where they thought the Earth is stationary or the sun was stationary, or vice versa.
What do you mean it's not stationary? It's fixed at the center of the solar system. Like everything else.
No,
revolves
no, no,
around
no,
it.
no, no. Everything within our cosmos,
the galaxies
they're moving.
You know, I understand. Like the sun is in an orbit around the galaxy, right? Everything is in orbit around the center
Yes.
of the galaxy.
So basically, the sun has its own orbit as well.
Right.
The sun is not
Nothing is
stationary.
stationary.
That's what you're trying to imply.
Nothing is stationary.
The sun is not.
Well, in relation to us, like it's not orbiting our planet.
Yeah, but we are not
like
talking
that.
only in relation to us. We are talking about the sun as itself.
He says,
It does
look,
have its own orbit.
everything, they each have their own orbit. They all float in an orbit.
Yeah.
The sun has an orbit, the moon has an orbit, all the stars and everything
Well, I
has
mean,
an
the
orbit.
sun has like an orbit around the galaxy, but it's like hundreds of millions of years in length. So-
Yeah, yeah.
So regardless, I mean, it
Yeah.
does have its own orbit.
Yeah.
That's the point.
People didn't know that before, did they? Now we know.
Especially by a person who didn't know how to read and write. I mean, imagine mentioning that 1400 years ago.
I think the common knowledge was that the sun was quite stationary, or the earth was stationary. But now we realize the Quran says, no, that's not the case. The
Yeah,
sun
but I mean,
has its own orbit.
it's referring.
Isn't that quite profound?
It's referring to the sun not overtaking the moon. Well,
That's all.
I mean,
that's clear,
how would
isn't
that be the case? I mean, like I'm saying, if
Oh, no, we know
you
that
can understand,
today.
you can understand what that would mean if you're talking about the sun moving across the sky and then the moon coming behind it, or the other way
But
around.
he says it cannot.
But-
that is the point. That is the point it's making, that it cannot, and we know it cannot.
Well, I mean, why would you even
If
need
you
to
said
say
it
that
can,
unless you're talking?
then you would say that it would be scientifically flawed. But
Right.
here he's saying it cannot.
You
Yeah,
somehow
but I mean,
think
it's
that you
impli-
can.
It's obviously talking about like the sun which is moving around.
The sun is moving.
The sun does move.
Yeah, but the only reason why it appears to move across our sky in relation to the moon is because we
it's
are
not that.
orbiting the sun.
sun, even
and
without,
the planet is
look,
turning
if
around.
you observe from the moon or you observe from another planet, yes, you will know, scientifically speaking, the sun does revolve on its own, sorry, it does rotate.
Yeah, it
on its
rotates,
own
but that's not the
orbit.
same thing as that's not an orbit. Rotate on its axis. That's
No,
not
sorry,
orbit.
revolve.
Yeah,
Revolve on its orbit, in its orbit. And that is important.
You mean around the center of the galaxy?
But in here, it
Yes.
talks about
Because
floating
like
in an
rotating
orbit.
on its axis
No,
and
no,
going
not-
around the galaxy is not
I'm
the
not
same
talking
thing.
on its own axis. I said it revolves in its orbit. That is important.
I think there's few issues being conflated. First things, does the Quran get anything wrong scientifically here? Number two, what does the Quran describe about science in here? Does it say the sun has an orbit or not? It says sun has an
We
orbit.
float in an orbit.
Yeah, the sun has an orbit. The moon has an orbit. The sun cannot catch the moon. The day cannot catch the night. The night cannot catch the day. So every single statement here is correct. So what's the
The
issue?
night outstrip the day. Nor does the night outstrip the day. What does that even mean?
Because they're always, when you have something moving,
But that implies that like the night is something moving, which obviously
yeah.
it's not. Is it?
When the earth is moving, rotating around the sun, so that you have the night and day forming.
Yeah, but
What it's
the night-
describing
the
is here,
night
the
is
night
not-
and day
the night is
cannot
not
catch with
moving,
each
is it?
other.
The night is just an effect of
You know,
our planet's relation to the sun.
I think
like where we are on the
what you're
planet
doing is
in relation to
you're
the
reading the prose and the poetry in this as if it's a scientific book.
sun. Right.
So do not expect
I mean,
this
that's fair
to
enough if
talk
you
in
wanna
a
say it's
scientific
not.
language. It's
Yeah,
not.
okay.
No one says the Quran is a book of science.
But it's
So it does have-
saying things which don't really fit with.
Okay, I tell you what.
What
you show
doesn't
me
fit is what I want to know. This is what
contradicts
I've been
science
asking
in
you.
all the things we've just been talking about.
Okay, what is it that is totally
Yeah.
wrong in here?
Which part of that it contradicts science?
Can the night outstrip the day? No, it cannot. Because our earth rotates.
Yeah,
And because
the
it
night-
rotates,
the night
you have the
doesn't
night.
move, so-
No, but I told you this is like.
Do you know how it night and
It's like saying in a poetic language.
Yeah.
When you try to take that as literal, then that is where you're wrong, because this is not
But
a
you don't have to-
scientific.
if you
But
read
you don't
it
have to take a
literally,
poetic
If you're
language.
going to read
Yeah.
a book that is of science, you won't find it basically talking in poetry or talking in metaphors.
But you don't even have to go into poetry in issue.
I mean, not really.
But you don't have to go in poetry.
No, no, when he
If
says
you-
the night taking over the day.
Yeah, no,
the
it's
day
still. If you go outside our Earth and observe the Earth rotating, you will see the night and day happening, and you will see that one is not
shadow.
able to outstrip the other. So this is describing from outside space.
The shadow can't be light and the light can't be a shadow.
Basically, what it means is like, you know, when you have night, yes, you cannot have the whole earth as night, or you cannot have the whole earth as day.
It's not overall wrong, brother.
They do
That's
not
the point.
overtake each other. That's what it means.
What's the
Basically.
major issue? That's what brother Mansoor
No,
does.
I'm saying,
Nothing really. I mean,
look at this. Look at this.
We started talking about like embryology.
Look at this. Go step outside the Earth and observe about this issue, about the sun, about the moon, and about the Earth. You will see how the night and day, they cannot get into other because it's moving. Night's happening here, and then day's happening. They cannot catch with each other. Just observe from space. This is exactly how it's
So
described.
linguistically and scientifically, that statement is true. You see what I mean?
Why are you not
I
convinced?
think what
I
you
would
have
like
to
know.
realize is that
Well, because it's
what
okay.
Allah
It
is
says
trying to
it's
tell
not
you
for
is
the
that-
sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outstrip the day.
Yeah.
right?
Is that
So,
correct or incorrect?
Well, that only makes sort of sense if you're talking about the sun and the moon, which are moving in relation to us, right? Because
What it means
That's
by
your
outstrip-
assumption. That's your assumption.
I think what it means by
Putting in
outstripping is
assumptions.
basically it does not merge. For example, the day doesn't merge into the night as a whole.
Listen.
Okay,
let's-
so you've got one.
No,
Let me,
I
let me,
understand your point. I'm
let
just
me,
saying it doesn't-
let me tell you literally what it means. Literally, right? Literally. When it says here, وَلَا اللَّيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ سابق, to proceed one another. When you say, so one cannot go in front of him, proceed beyond it. So when you have this thing rotating, the earth,
Yeah.
and you have the sun. The night is moving. The day is catching from behind, but it can never go
Have you ever heard that
in
it
front
goes
of it.
opposite way
The
around?
night isn't
right? You see, as it's moving, look, here it's dark, right, isn't it? As it's moving, look, the day is happening. The night cannot catch the day, cannot outstrip
It
it.
rotates this way. Have you ever heard of it suddenly
The
becoming...
day cannot outstrip the night. This is exactly what's happening. One cannot catch the other, but they cannot go beyond it.
Get it?
So in fact, it's describing how the spherical nature of the thing, because it's like a coiling, and this is how the Quran describes يُكَيِّرُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ, how Allah coils the night and the day. Coils. Like the turban, when you do the coiling, this is how the Quran uses
It's
the description.
nighttime now, then it'll become morning, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah? It's not going to suddenly go backwards, is it? The sun is not going to go that way.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it
So,
I suppose it
so
could if
I
the
don't find
planet was
anything.
not
I don't find
not
anything
happening, is it?
objectionable here from the scientific point of view. You have to really deeply reflect on it. And
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't really. I just
Get a
have something.
highlighter.
Next time I'll in more detail.
The important thing is not to read it as if
There was
as if
another,
it's a
there was
science
the other
book.
part about the moon following the sun, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think
what
that's,
that
that's
What was it? The moon? Yeah, that's...
They have different
follows the
translations
sun.
sometimes in different.
That's good you're asking questions, but like I said, clarity, in the ending, it doesn't clash with science. There's nothing in there that clashes with science. And if you do have, that's what Brother Mansoor was asking, that what is it that is your contention in that sense?
is. Yeah.
these are issues that's become an obstacle to.
All right.
So let's see if I can find the other verses you're talking about the moon, right?
Are you Christian or you don't mind?
Well, I guess I'm agnostic.
Agnostic, that's good.
So you believe in God?
Agnostic. Yeah,
No, not really. I mean, I'm pretty atheist in terms of religion. But I'm open-minded to the idea that
seeker.
God might
That's good.
exist.
Truth seeker.
I'm not going to reject it out of hand. Say that it's not.
Yeah, I'm
possible,
gonna.
anything like that.
That's gonna be my title, Truth Seeker.
Have you looked into the Quran much, or is this...
Well, I've only read bits and pieces of it. I'm sort of about. I want to study it properly.
Excellent.
But because I came here last week and spoke to Mansoor, but I
suggest
said I was going to go
continue to
over
do
some of
that.
the things we did, but we talked about, but I didn't actually get around to it. So
No problem. Come again next Sunday and talk to Brother Mansoor.
not
The way
sure
you find
exactly
out the
which
truth
verse
is by
you're talking
asking the
about.
questions.
Yeah.
So what about the universe? Do you think it? How did it come into being? What is your take on that?
well, I don't know, but I mean, there are sort of theories about it, aren't there? Like scientific theories which don't require like
the
this
Big Bang
inexplicable God. Sorry.
You mean the Big Bang theory? Which theory?
Yeah, but there's also like some theories about what might have happened like before the Big Bang, let's say, or where the Big Bang,
What do you?
what might have caused the Big Bang or something.
Have you
like
looked into it?
that. I'm not a scientist. I mean, sort of multiverse,
Just basic. Just multiple.
or sort of quantum,
think it was
quantum
like-
vacuum and stuff like that.
Do you think it was eternally?
Or it could be it could be a universe which expands and contracts and expands and contracts.
Do you think it began to exist or it always existed?
Well, I mean, this idea of something coming out into being out of nothing does seem quite logical.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe the universe is illogical. Possibly.
Sorry, the universe-
Maybe the universe is illogical.
Possibly.
No, we're talking about not the actual. Well, we know the universe exists.
Something coming to being out of nothing. Yeah. Okay. That seems to defy
That's
logic, right? But
Without a
maybe that's
creator.
just because
Without a creator.
like logic. Well, yeah, but that's the same thing because where did the creator come from? So.
No, but the creator, you see, there's a difference between when you talk about the creator.
Yeah.
Yes, we do not believe, by definition, the creator, at least from Islamic perspective, he's uncaused and he's eternal. He's always existed.
Okay, so
Can we say the
but you
same
could
about
say
the
that-
universe?
Yeah, you could. You could say
Because-
it's just eternal in some way.
Wouldn't you fall into the infinite regression?
No, no.
issue?
If you say like the universe is in some sense eternal,
But that-
maybe not this universe, but like the stuff that makes up the universe, or maybe
What is
this
that?
universe.
No, but
I mean,
you see,
in some way that like the stuff which composes this universe is eternal in some way. Like it didn't just there wasn't like nothing and then it came into being. I mean, it
but
could.
the universe cannot exist eternally. You know?
Well, if you're saying that it is possible for something to be eternal like God, you could just as equally say that. The sort of reality or whatever it is eternal in some,
No,
in
if
some
you're
respect.
going on a scientific basis,
Yeah.
for anything to exist eternally, then you fall into the issue of infinite regression. So let's keep God aside for once.
Well, hang on, but you just said that God is eternal, so
That's
then
what
you're
I'm saying.
falling into
Because
the
you see,
problem of
I'm talking
infinite
from the
regression.
scientific perspective,
Yeah.
which you believe in.
Well, you're leaning on science.
Yeah.
So this particular argument, you must have heard about the Kalam cosmological argument.
Yeah.
Yes. So which basically implies that for anything that began to exist,
Yeah.
yes, you need a cause.
Right.
Yes.
Apart from God, apparently.
Yeah, God didn't begin to exist, so that cannot apply to God.
Right, so you could say like the multiverse is eternal.
Even the
And
multi-
that's what some
But it's
people
not.
say.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what some atheists
If
say.
you look at scientifically, you'll fall into the infinite regression issue if you say anything that exists eternally.
But you've just said that God exists eternally, so you're contradicting yourself
No,
directly.
I'm not, because I'm saying God didn't begin to exist, and
Yeah, you said
by
it's
definition,
eternal.
he's uncaused.
Yeah.
He didn't begin to
Okay,
exist.
let's just go back over what you just said, yeah? And let's just repeat
Yeah,
what
but
you
science
just said.
doesn't
You,
bring-
you said that if you say that something is eternal,
Yeah.
you fall into the problem of infinite regression, right? That's what you just said.
If it begins to exist,
Oh, okay, well, no, it's
if
changing.
it begins
yeah.
to exist, then you fall into this infinite regression
Yeah,
issue.
okay.
Now you see
So
this
if we-
multiverse.
If we argue that there was nothing and then something came into being out of
Are
nothing.
you aware of any scientist who says the universe is eternal? Because I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, there are. Like, I mean, obviously it's all theoretical. Like, it's just speculation or theory, right?
No, I'm saying some credible scientists who say that the universe is
Yeah,
eternal.
the multiverse is eternal.
No, the multiverse is not eternal. The
Yeah,
multiverse.
well, I've heard.
The multiverse only means that there are many universes.
Yeah,
but it
and
doesn't mean that.
This whole thing, which you call the multiverse, which is like the entirety of existence, right?
But
In all its different dimensions and stuff. They say there are some people who claim that could be eternal, and that would. It's not really an explanation of where things came from, because things
I don't
didn't
think
come from
scientists say
anywhere.
the
They just
multiverse
always
You've been watching
existed.
Flash.
eternal.
Sorry?
Flash. Have you watched Flash? They were talking about that on Flash.
Flash? What is Flash?
Sci-fi series.
Right.
Multiverse and all
The
that.
multiverse, I don't
Flashpoint.
think the theory of multiverse doesn't
Really?
imply that they are eternal. No scientist, as far as I know, who is credible,
Yeah.
who say that the universe is eternal. Because you see, if you go by the second
Why
law of thermodynamics, everything that is energy, okay, it basically comes down to a point where this energy becomes unusable. So because of entropy.
Entropy.
Yes, and this is what happens. So the question of anything for it to exist is impossible, just based on the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, I mean, okay, so like there are also people who argue that the universe expands and then contracts, so it could be eternal in that sense. Like you have an expansion, and then over like a ridiculously long period of time, it then contracts back to a tiny
How is
little
that
thing.
eternal?
Well, because all that's happening is it's just
That
getting
means
like
it has a beginning and end. It doesn't mean it's eternal.
No, it means that because it could just be eternal. But what we are experiencing is like the expansion phase, and then it's going to contract and then it'll expand again, and it's just over
Yeah, but
and
you
over and
still
over
have to have the first to begin with.
No, only if
How
you,
did the
only
first
if you
universe
assume,
begin?
Only if you assume that it was.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
always
How
there
did the first universe, even in a multi-universe theory, how did it come into existence?
Well, this is the thing I'm trying to explain.
Unless
or
you are
say.
going
It's
by
a-
belief, just like the people who believe in religion,
Yeah.
that by belief they believe that God is always existed. Unless you are now going on that basis, but then that makes you no different to the religious people.
Not
You see what I
really,
mean?
Well, no, it does because
you're going by faith now,
because
not by
you're
science.
No, in a sense, you're saying the same thing because you said God is eternal. So if I say that in some,
I haven't decided. So what I'm saying is,
hang on, let me finish my point.
Yeah, go
because
on.
you turned away. So you're saying God is eternal, so we don't need to explain where it came from.
no, I'm saying I can at least say, okay, we believe in God by faith.
Yeah.
I don't need science to tell me that. I got the Quran,
Okay.
and for me, by faith. Are you able to say the same? Because you have to go, because you have made science your, what do you say, your
Yardstick.
principle, and yeah, your
No, I
yardstick.
haven't really. I mean, the thing is,
measure.
the thing is, like science actually attempts to provide explanations, whereas religion doesn't really provide any explanations at all. It just says it's magic. We can't explain anything. It's just
No,
God.
I never said it's magic.
Well, it's
I'm
because
saying-
you're
I'm
saying it's
saying-
sort of something we can't possibly.
No, I'm saying,
supernatural.
look, I can say that I believe in God by faith. Okay?
Okay.
Not magic or something, I believe by faith.
Yeah.
But if you're going to insist that your principles are based on science, and you're always looking for scientific approval, you're always looking for scientific, basis and evidence, then you got to be consistent, and you got to tell me, how did the universe begin to exist from nothing?
All right. I'm not claiming that there's evidence that the universe is eternal or anything like that. Well, as I said quite clearly,
Fair enough, yeah.
is just sort of theories or speculation, right? Because we don't know what happened before the Big Bang.
Exactly.
Or stuff like that. Right?
Exactly my point.
I mean, I'm not even sure.
So even the Big Bang,
the
for
Big
it to
Bang is.
happen, okay, you need to have something, some cause for that to happen. Because if there is no cause, how did the Big Bang happen?
Right.
What caused it?
Okay,
Yes?
so what I sort of tried to describe a bit earlier is some speculative theories about where the Big Bang might have come from. Okay, so
Sorry, I wasn't there at that time. So if you don't mind me-
just a bit earlier now. Like, so either you have the sort of multiverse theory. Right?
No, but even
Wait, hang on,
multiverse
let me
is-
finish.
yeah.
Either you have the multiverse theory
You
where
still have to tell me how it started.
where the universe, this universe is just part of a sort of larger multiverse. Okay, I don't understand it. I think it's kind of
Exactly.
it's-
You need to.
Well, the
it
thing
has
is,
to
it's
start
so
somewhere.
far beyond what we can comprehend right now. So, or you have like this idea of the universe is constantly expanding and collapsing, or you have like something like sort of.
No, but you're-
a
what you're doing is
quantum
you're
vacuum, so you do
fast-forwarded
actually
to-
have existence before the Big Bang in sort of quantum form.
You
right?
have fast forwarded to the point where the universe already existed and then
Yeah.
gives rise to another one.
Okay, so
but you need
the
to start
multiverse.
with a point where there was nothing, or
Okay,
there was something
so you're saying that,
that
there-
makes
there needs
this
to be,
universe.
but the problem is that you're, like I said, you're contradicting yourself because you're saying that you don't need a cause for God, so God can be eternal, right? And then what I said is, well, if that's the case, then why can't the stuff that makes up the universe be eternal?
The reason
in
for
some
that,
sense?
I've already explained it two times, it's the third time I'm explaining. My faith,
Yeah.
yes, is dependent on the Quran,
Right.
not science. Okay, so I have my faith, belief in God,
Yeah.
based on faith. But you see, your principle
No, but
and
I'm not stating this as a belief. I'm simply saying
no,
it's
I'm
a
not saying it's a
possibility.
belief. Sorry, I'm not saying
it's
yours is a belief.
possibility.
I'm
Yeah.
saying mine is a belief.
Right.
But yours is based on science. So you got to be consistent with
But
what
I'm
science
not
is.
expressing a belief about what actually happened. I'm simply saying that it's a possibility. That's a possible explanation.
Yeah, but that explanation is
Yeah.
based on science, right? Not on belief. That's
Well,
exactly what I'm saying.
Well,
it's based on
this
science.
particular question about like where the universe came from, that's not really science in the sense that there's no like we don't
you
have
see,
evidence.
That is what I'm
It's
trying
a
to get
theory,
at.
It's a theory.
So you're no different to the people who
belief.
believe by faith. You believe by faith that it is
It's not
maybe
belief,
this
it's a theory,
existed,
speculation.
the universe, the multi-universe.
Yeah, but
whatever
I'm not
exists.
saying that this is what happened. I'm saying that it's a possibility, right? It's a theoretical possibility. So, whereas you say that the only possibility is that there must have been this intelligent creator God, right? And I don't know if that's what you believe, but a lot of people
That's what I
claim
believe, yes.
that's the only logical possibility. I'm saying it's also possible, following your own logic, that instead of having this intelligent deity, there might have just been, like, existence in some form or another has always existed and is eternal.
What is that thing?
Well, I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. You're just
Like
making up some
no, I just gave you.
theory.
I gave you a couple of examples, like the multiverse, quantum vacuum, or constantly expanding and contracting universe. These are some
Multiverse.
yeah. So in some terms, it's eternal.
Multiverse doesn't mean that it existed eternally. In fact, you'll always fall on two things: on the infinite regression test, that will fail, and on the second law of thermodynamics, again it'll fail. Because for something to exist eternally is impossible scientifically.
All right, wait, but then you've just proven that God can't exist.
That's because I don't believe in science to be having. I don't base my my belief
What did you
on
just
science.
say? What did you
You
say?
are.
For something to exist eternally
No,
is
I'm
impossible,
not. But hold on.
logically. you just
I'm
said,
not
right?
the one
So that means
basing
that
my
God's
belief
not.
on science. You are. So you are the one who have
As
to.
I just said, I'm not.
You're the one who has to base it on science, not me. You understand the difference?
When it's
I'm not
literally
using science as my yardstick. You are.
I'm not actually using science. I'm just trying to use
So what
like
are you
logic
using?
here. Like,
No, but your logic is also based on science, right? You cannot have something from nothing. That is illogical, right?
well, yeah, it seems illogical. I don't know if it is,
Okay.
but it
So
seems
now, if you're
illogical.
going to use logic, you cannot use that as an example.
Right, but as I said,
the
there
question
is a
still remains,
possibility
where
that
did
the
the
universe
universe
is
come
illogical.
If it's not nothing, if it is not God, where did it come from?
Eternal, like I said, yeah.
But that's impossible. Scientifically, that's impossible.
No, it's not.
Logically,
If eternal existence is logically impossible, then it follows logically that God is impossible.
so now you're not using science. You're just using.
Well, like I said,
When you say
like
eternal-
I said, when we're talking about like where the universe came from, that's speculation. It's just purely theoretical. Like there's no.
Sorry,
we're not
where the
doing
universe came from?
experiments like to find out where it came
No,
from. 'cause
hold
you
on.
can't.
The theory of the Big Bang.
Yeah.
This is something that I think majority of the scientists have.
Yeah, but we don't
have
know.
established as.
We don't know what caused the Big Bang or anything like that. That's
Yeah, we don't know that.
speculation.
We don't know what happened before the Big
Yeah,
Bang. I'm not
exactly.
saying that. But I'm saying that it
That's what
began
I'm
to
talking
exist at one point. And for anything to begin to exist, it must have a cause. And that cause is what the question I'm asking you. What is that cause that caused it? The first cause.
Okay, well, like I said, you can have eternal existence in some form. Either like you have
Going back into eternal existence. We just
I
talked
mean,
about the Big Bang.
I don't know why you find it so difficult to understand what I'm saying.
Because you're saying the first cause, sorry, you're saying the Big Bang. When you talk about the Big Bang, yes, it's not eternal. You know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Big Bang, like, it could be part of a larger multiverse, like you said. Yeah.
So you're saying the Big Bang happened before that there was another universe?
But there can be. I mean, it's difficult to conceive of it, but there is something before.
I think you really should read up on those theories of the Big Bang, about the multiverse.
Yeah.
Okay, trust me, no credible scientist will ever say that the universe existed eternally. Not to my knowledge. If you can bring such a scientist who is credible, not someone on the internet writing in a blog or something, someone credible, yeah?
Okay.
If there's a credible scientist, then I'm more than willing to listen to that.
Well, like,
but
the thing is, what we are talking about is logic at the end of the day, isn't it? So either the universe came into being out of nothing, right? Or it's eternal in some form.
I think it's belief, not logic in your case. Trust me.
Can I say something?
Let me finish.
What you're talking about is belief, not logic.
Finish the summary. So
Yeah, sure.
either it's like you say, either the universe or existence is coming to being out of nothing, which
is not
seems
possible,
illogical.
yes.
I mean, I'm not sure it is illogical,
Well,
but it seems illogical. Or it's eternal in some form or another, in some way. Or like you say, there's a kind of eternal being which has existed outside of the universe. But all you're really doing there is you're just putting eternity like one step back. You're saying, well, it's not possible for the universe to have been eternal, but in some way or another, but it is possible for this.
Have you read into infinite regression? And do you know the problem? Do you know the problem with infinite regression? Sorry, when you bring into infinite regression into this eternal universe theory, it completely falls apart. It's basically like you. I'll give you an example. Imagine you're going to borrow a book, and you've got infinite number of people in front of you.
You know, I understand the infinite regression problem.
Yeah, I know you understand, but I'm asking you: will you ever get a book if you have infinite number of people in front of you?
No.
You will never get a book. So you wouldn't exist in an infinite, in a universe which is eternal. You wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't exist.
Why not?
Because it's impossible for it to exist when you have something infinitely, basically existing. Like the infinite, when you have eternal universe, for example. There are two. Look, you have infinite regression to deal with.
On the one hand, you want to say that eternity is impossible, and then you want to say that God's eternal. So
No, but you see what you're doing is you're always mixing up science and belief. You need to separate the two, because if you're going to use science as evidence for yourself, then you got to apply the principles of science. If I'm going to use the Quran as my evidence and my support and my source of evidence, then I'm going to be consistent with the Quran. What you're doing is you're juxtaposing the two. You can't do that. You either believe in science, which doesn't rely on angels, which doesn't rely on God, which doesn't rely on divine books. It doesn't rely on all those.
What we're talking about here is just logical possibilities, not.
What is a logical possibility? That there is a God?
Yeah, it's a logical possibility. Yeah.
Well, if there's a logical possibility, there's a God. What are the other possibilities you have?
There could be millions of gods. Who knows?
No, you explained something coming from nothing,
Okay,
which we both agree is
I don't think
illogical.
there's much point with going over and over again. But I mean, like the other thing is the other point, which is maybe a side point, is that let's say coming from nothing is illogical. Who's to say that like the universe isn't illogical, or that illogical things can't happen? I mean, that's a possibility.
That doesn't even make sense. Universe is
Well, it
illogical.
doesn't make sense because
What do you mean?
sense is like
What do you mean the
logic.
universe is illogical? Don't you think it exists?
Well, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Seriously?
Who knows?
So you're saying you don't exist?
Yeah, I'm just saying that this. I don't really want to get into that particular point.
No, honestly,
But what I'm saying
look,
is
if you're
that
talking logic, we need to break
this
this
idea
into.
of something coming into existence out of nothing
Yeah.
strikes us as being illogical. How
non-scientific.
can that? Yeah, it's nonsensical. It's not even.
It's illogical, it's unscientific.
Yeah.
Okay, from many perspectives,
the point I was just trying to make
is
is that maybe it is possible for illogical, nonsensical things to happen.
No, I don't think so. If we are logical beings, if you're thinking logically, and if you're going to imply that we don't even exist, then I think that is really.
Whether we do.
No need for discussion.
That has been a kind of philosophical question, like whether we do or not.
Oh yeah, we can talk philosophically anything. I can say the sky is green now philosophically. Yes, we can look philosophically. You can make many assumptions.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that is something that science will
But I mean,
approve of.
yeah, but this question about whether we exist or not is not really directly relevant to the point I was just making about whether it's possible for like an illogical event to happen.
No, an illogical event happening, yes, then you have to step outside the realm of science.
Yeah.
Yes?
You do, yes.
And do you really want to do that?
I don't want to do that, but
Exactly.
I'm saying that maybe it's a possibility. I'm saying there isn't. You're kind of the thing is your whole argument is like, well, if we take these logical steps, then the only possible answer is this creator God. But
You know, the
actually,
answers
that's not the case at all.
that we are seeking should be coherent. It should not be incoherent. It should be logical. It shouldn't be illogical. Yes, that's what I'm
because
saying.
you want-
If you're talking about talking rationally and arguing rationally and discussing rationally, then I don't think illogical and incoherent explanations will resolve anything. In fact, they'll cause more questions than answering questions.
Who's to say that because we want things to be logical or rational, that means they must be? I mean, that's simply an assumption or a
Unless you
desire
want to-
that we have.
Look, unless you want to talk irrationally, that's your prerogative.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that I want to, because obviously I value logic
Exactly,
and
yeah.
reasons. But
So
I'm
let's
just,
stick
all
to
I-
one principle.
All I'm saying, yeah, but you can't imply your principles on,
No, I'm not
on the
implying
universe.
anything. I'm
no,
asking.
you can't. Sorry, you can't impose them on the universe.
I'm not imposing it either. I'm saying if you're going to remain consistent,
Yeah.
that you are a rational person, a rational being, and you seek rational answers and not incoherent
Okay.
and illogical
All right, but
answers,
what I'm saying
then
is-
you got to stand by that principle
fair
rather
enough.
than you saying, okay, I can be illogical, I can be logical, I can be coherent, I can be incoherent.
No.
I mean, we will never
I'm
get an
saying-
answer that way, you know?
Obviously, I want to think about things logically, but I'm saying there is a possibility that the universe might have come into existence through some sort of inexplicable, illogical act, or maybe it is sort of illogical in some fundamental way.
I think that statement is neither here nor there. That's just like saying there's a spaghetti monster in the sky. That's possible,
Yeah, well,
you know?
it is kind of a way.
You know, it's a statement like
But
that.
that's what you're doing. That's not.
No, sorry, that's not what
No,
I'm saying.
I
I'm
can say
seeking
that.
a logical answer, a coherent answer, rather than illogical. For example, I do not believe something comes into existence from nothing.
Right.
I do not even have to
Yeah, but the thing
research
is,
on that.
The thing is, like the assertion that there's a sort of eternal, intelligent creator God. What's logical about that?
Which is more plausible? You tell me. Something coming into existence from nothing, or something coming into existence from an intelligent being? Which is more
Well,
plausible? You tell me.
we can't actually explain logically God either, can we? Like,
You can't explain logic? Why not?
well, I mean, it's not like it. There's nothing particularly logical about the existence, eternal, infinite existence of a sort
Why
of
not?
creator
Why can't there
being.
be an eternally? Why can't there be an eternally intelligent being who is all powerful, who is timeless, spaceless, and who is all knowledgeable? Why can't that be?
Well, I mean, because I suppose logic in a way presupposes this idea of there having to be something before, right?
No, I'm saying why would that be illogical? That's the question I'm asking.
Because it's not really explained in any way, is it? You're just saying that's how it is.
No, I'm saying why is it not possible? I'm not saying
Because
that is there for real.
There's no explanation.
I'm not saying that is there, but I'm saying why would that be illogical? I'm telling you that if something exists from nothing, that is illogical. Because nothing, what is nothing? Nothing means the absence of everything. If something is coming into existence from this nothing, that itself by definition of nothing is illogical.
Isn't something just existing eternally also illogical?
No, it's not. Why is it illogical? You tell me.
Well, because it's not. It's like
I've given you the
it's
reason
you
why
can't.
nothing
Because, like I
to
say,
something
because
is
you
illogical.
can't really explain it. It's sort of inexplicable.
Oh, no. Just because you cannot explain it doesn't mean it's illogical. For example, there were times when we couldn't explain about why we get diseases, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, because we didn't know about microbes at that time. But that doesn't mean that it's illogical. Just because you can't explain it doesn't mean it's illogical. That's an absurd statement if anyone believes or asserts that particular thing. That
Well, no,
principle.
because logic sort of implies. It's a process of reasoning, isn't it? So
It's reason.
yeah.
It's
But
just basically.
but then you're going back and the original assumption or whatever doesn't have a reason for it.
No, but you got to give me the.
So there's no reason explaining the initial assumption.
No,
of
no.
this
You have to give me the
existence.
reasoning
God.
why someone powerful enough,
Yeah.
intelligent enough, someone who's spaceless and timeless, for that being, for that entity not to exist. Can you give me the reason why?
It might be that way.
Whichever way it is.
Yeah.
Why does that being not? Why is it illogical for that being to exist?
Well,
Give me one reasonable reason
Yeah.
to discard that as.
Well, no,
a possibility.
what I'm saying is like this eternal existence is kind of illogical because there's no there's nothing before which you can use to explain it. There's no reason for it.
Why is it illogical? That's the question.
Change the line.
Because, like, well,
Just because it's
as
eternal, you cannot say it's
because as I said, logic sort of implies a reason for something, and then there's a reason for that,
Yeah,
and
but
there's a
get the
reason
light
for that.
good,
But then
then.
if the end point is like, well, just
Sorry, just say
eternity,
again,
which
I
we
didn't get
can't,
that.
which we don't have a reason.
Why
for.
is it
Right.
irrational for
Really?
God to exist?
This is good, trust me. And then when you
Because, like I said, you're sort of, in order to avoid this infinite regression problem, which is illogical, you're saying, well, it's just eternal existence, but then there's no reason for that eternal existence. There's no prior argument for that eternal existence or anything like that.
No, but hold on. If by definition, God is existing eternally because He's spaceless and timeless, why is that illogical?
Yeah.
Because of the nature of what logic is, which is this. Is you have a sort of logical structure where you start with an explanation for something, but then there has to be sort of an explanation for that thing.
Yeah, but I just gave you the explanation for God. By definition, God is self-existing, is uncreated, is eternal, is timeless, and is spaceless, and He's all powerful. Why is I still fail to understand?
Why or how.
They don't see
or
where I
anything
come in from, you know?
It's
What
just
do you mean how?
you're just positing. You're just positing this fact as a fact. Like,
Yeah,
its
but
existence.
look, that's how theory works, you know. A theory has to be disproven, not proven. Are you aware of that? A theory,
Yeah.
you know what the scientists
Yeah, I
do? They
understand,
postulate a theory,
Yeah, I
okay?
understand that.
They postulate that, I don't know, the chicken came before the egg, for example. Now you have to disprove that in order for that theory to fail.
11 o'clock, 11:30.
Or you accept that theory to be
Yeah.
factual.
Oh, you can do late shift then, bro.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm
can do the
saying
drunks
God
debate.
exists. Now you can disprove why God doesn't exist.
That'll give you good entertainment, trust me.
Because you see, look, how I see it.
Anytime memories about the God.
If I break it down into its simplest form, yes, this universe and all the things that we know of came into existence either by something or by nothing. What I'm doing is I'm actually substituting this something by God. Because the other option, which is something coming from nothing,
Right, so the point
is illogical and is impossible.
So you're saying, well, we need a logical explanation for why things exist.
No.
So then you say, so then you say God.
Yeah.
God is a logical reason.
What is the
but
other
then what's the
possibility?
logical reason for God? Like, there's nothing. So,
What do you mean logical reason?
well,
Remember I said you have to
exactly.
disprove it,
There's
not
no,
prove it.
you don't have any.
Why would you
human
need
being.
a logical?
Oxygen, some things
If
like
all
that.
this came into existence, everything has a purpose, everything has some sort of order, it's not chaos. Yes. Why would you then say that this all just was
Well,
a
it's
matter
like,
of
yeah,
accident?
no, exactly.
It's a matter of
so
chance?
you're saying.
What is the verse, Ar-Rahman? You should read it. That is the
Hang on. So you're saying that you need a logical explanation for the universe, right? That's what you're saying. But then you say, well, the logical explanation is God. So then I could say to you, well, what's the logical? You need a logical explanation for God.
When you said
But then you say, well, I don't have one.
No, I did. I gave you many logical reasons why who God is. Look, God by definition is self-existing, is uncreated, He's timeless, He's spaceless, and He is all-powerful. What do you mean? This for me is your answer, the answer to your question.
Very simple.
All right.
But the universe, you see, the universe doesn't have conscience. God has conscience. The universe cannot create itself. Okay? Neither can we create ourselves. So the question remains, how did all this come into
Do
being?
you think that the universe was created in order as a test for us? Are we the purpose
You know,
of the universe?
even before we were existed, the universe existed.
Right.
Yes, so it's not just for a test for us.
Okay, so
God
there's
has
some
many purposes.
other reasons as
Yeah,
well.
God has many reasons, many purposes. In His wisdom,
Well,
He created the
do you
universe.
think He created the dinosaurs to test them as well?
No, I didn't say that.
We don't have
I
a
don't know, I'm
definite.
just
We
wondering
don't have a
why-
definite answer.
Why would He create those
You see,
huge
the reason
Because he's
you and
God.
I
He
were
felt
created-
like it.
He
He
felt
felt
like
like
it.
it. He's got the power, so
I'll
he
tell you
felt
what.
like it. Just imagine.
I'll tell you what.
No
look,
answer there,
one-
innit?
There is
That's
one
cool.
truth which we cannot deny. That is death. Do you agree? There is one truth we cannot deny.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it might be possible in the future to solve that problem.
Wow.
I
I've
want
heard
to
that
say
before.
that was
It might be.
It might not be as well.
It might not be.
Yes? So what do you think happens to us after death?
Nothing. I
Nothing?
think we're dead.
What if something happens to you after that? Let's say there's a life after that. What then?
Well, then I'll be. I don't know. I guess I'll be having sex with houris like 24 hours.
No,
Ah.
you won't make it in there. There's a
Why
visa.
not?
You need to take.
Why
You need
not?
to buy the visa.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was told earlier on that if I get to heaven and God judges me, and I say, well, listen, I couldn't believe because like the evidence or whatever that you had
that's
wasn't
not going to be
enough.
good enough.
That's not how it works.
So
Heaven,
I'm going to go to hell.
Huh?
heaven is not a free ticket.
So he's going to torture me in eternity for eternity
Look,
because I didn't believe. Is that right?
It says,
It's
but
your
we
choice.
don't know.
It's your choice.
Why would God be so ridiculously like over the top?
Can I ask you something? Why would you deny someone who has given you life?
So what?
Give you eyes, legs.
Why would you deny the Jewish religion? You know, why would you deny like
Jewish
Hindu-
religion.
Why
It's
I
the
deny?
same.
I'll
It's
tell
the
you what.
same.
It's very simple. I deny the Jewish religion because it's racist. Can you become a Jew if you're not a Jew? No, you got to be born a Jew.
You can convert, but
Okay?
they don't
Well, that's-
make it easy.
Exactly. That's not a first-class Jew, is it? It's still a second-class Jew.
You're coming to God, you shouldn't be
Okay.
made
It's
different.
all one.
How do you know that God isn't racist? I mean, maybe he is.
God is not a racist because He tells us so.
Just
What, in the
imagine.
Quran?
Exactly.
Why would these be racist be on creation? Doesn't make
I
sense.
don't believe in that either, but I mean, if
Have you heard
if
of
God
the-
can be anything, like why couldn't
Have
he
you
be-
heard of
The Quran specifically says it's not racist. Prophet Muhammad specifically.
Have you heard of the
That's
Pascals?
fine, but he was talking about Jewish.
Exactly. I didn't say nothing about that. We did.
You heard of the Pascals wager?
Yeah, I can't really remember.
It's basically like, you know, like we believe in life after death. Yes. Let's say there is a life after death. That's one option. And the other option is, like you said, we die and that's it. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, yeah?
Do you believe that when you die there's nothing? Sorry.
So we have there's two alternatives. We have an alternative where you have
Well, I mean, I guess a better way to put it, sorry to stop you, is I don't believe there's. I don't have the belief in heaven.
You don't believe there's something.
No, I don't.
what do you think happens after you die?
Well, I don't know. It seems to me that he was just dead and that's it.
Okay, so that's one alternative. The other alternative is there is life after death, and you'll be judged, and accordingly, your end will be either hell or heaven.
Yeah, so either I'll be tortured forever and ever.
We'll come to the torturing and
in the most
the
horrific
hooris
way
bit later.
possible, or else I'll be like banging 24 hours a day in heaven and drinking wine out of rivers and stuff. What about
It looks like you're complaining.
What about the wives? What are they, the women?
What would be heaven? Wait. What would be heaven for you? If there is such a thing as heaven, what would you desire?
I mean, I guess the Muslim heaven seems pretty good.
You see? There we go.
It's not very spiritual, though, is it?
Well,
What's
look,
spiritual?
look here, you know,
I mean, like,
Allah
if
says
God is so great, couldn't you just be in the presence of God the whole time?
Yeah, you can.
Why do you need to be drinking wine
have
and
options.
screwing
No,
these
no,
sort
wait,
of
wait,
strange angelic?
You know
knows his
something?
creation.
You know what is the greatest?
What about the women? Why is it? I mean,
You know what is the
in
greatest
heaven
blessing?
they get to spend eternity watching you like.
I'll tell you what.
72 virgins every
You
day.
can
So-
do.
They have issue with that.
You know, in the Quran, Allah says you can do whatever you desire in paradise. You don't need to be banging or drinking alcohol 24 hours if you don't want to. It says in the Quran that you, whether you're a male or a female, you will get what you desire in paradise, and that is what paradise is. And that is what paradise is.
Okay.
So it is not what you'll be imposed upon you, whatever you don't want, but rather you will desire, and it will happen
Yeah, like
in
I say,
paradise.
it doesn't seem like.
So if you want to play
the
Xbox
description of-
in
doesn't-
heaven,
doesn't
that's
seem
fine.
like- It doesn't seem spiritual. It just seems like.
No.
You know what I as
I'm
a
coming to the
base
spiritual
human
bit.
being with base desire.
I'm coming to the spiritual bit.
What I would like.
Hear
if
him
like
out,
the
hear him
world
out.
was
Hold on.
ideal.
Watch, it's there.
I'm
Watch.
coming to the
Watch,
spiritual
it's
bit.
there.
You know what is even
All
greater than
angles
that?
covered.
Even greater than basically satisfying your desires, yes, is to basically when Allah will remove
The
the
veil.
veil of light
Yeah.
from His face.
And we see our
and that will be the
Creator.
greatest blessing that you will see God, and that is
Wow.
if you can't get more spiritual than that.
Well, okay, so if like heaven, if the ideal world of heaven is like a kind of a garden where if you want, you can have sex all the time and you can drink wine and just pass
seem
it.
to be
all
very
out.
obsessed with sex and wine.
Why don't we just turn Hyde Park into heaven and do that here?
Sorry?
We can have like.
Oh, no, like I said,
we
you
can
have to
all be
work.
fornicating
You know
and
what
like drinking and
STDs are?
everything.
You know what STDs are?
You know what?
Well, but they don't get on disease and
You ever
stuff.
heard of condoms?
STDs, they're not 100%.
You know, that is the whole idea of paradise. That what you're going to basically
Yeah.
be abstaining from on earth, you'll get that in paradise.
It's a test.
But in a
Yeah,
plus
I know.
way. In a plus way.
Get back to Pascal.
Because it's not a free ticket. You
It's
got
an
to earn
exam.
it. Paradise
This
is
is a
not
test.
free.
It's an exam.
Yeah.
We're here as an
Sorry,
exam.
I was
It's a test.
talking about the Pascal's wager.
word,
yeah.
And that is what you need to
Yeah,
realize.
listen to
Look,
this.
You know the two alternatives you have, like you said, when you die and you become nothing and that's it, end of story.
Yeah.
And the other alternative is which I gave you about you being judged on the day of judgment, and then you end up either in hell or heaven. Yes? Let's say you got these two alternatives. Alright? I as a believer and you as a non-believer. Yes? You tell me that if I die, if I die and I'm faced with the first alternative, which is I become nothing, will I lose anything? I led my whole life as someone who believed in God. Okay, so if I face that particular alternative, I really won't suffer or I won't have any, what do you say, consequences because of that.
But then
You won't have any regrets.
you'll have missed out on all the good times because
No,
you
no, hold
thought
on,
they'd be coming
hold
in.
He won't
on.
know that.
But you see the good times which you're talking about, if the second alternative was true, it won't be limited to 80 years or 100 years. It'll be eternal, remember?
Right.
Now, you see, I'm still better off than you.
But you're
Sorry,
saying-
when I say you, I
Yeah, but
mean
you're
someone
saying
who
you
doesn't
can't-
believe in
you
God.
can't, like,
Wait, hear me out. Let me finish the Pascal's
You
wager.
can't,
But you see
saying
what?
You're saying you can't have sex with loads of partners and drink wine and stuff, and
Say
party
again?
all you're saying you can't have sex with multiple partners, or like loads of girls, and drink wine and stuff in this world because you have to wait till you die together.
Yes, because I would rather
why not
take
just do it
because
now?
I would rather take the eternal than the temporary.
Eternal.
I'm
You see what I mean?
Yeah, but like if
What
it-
you're
if it-
doing,
if it
what you're
doesn't-
doing is the other way
if it
around.
doesn't exist,
You're
then-
letting
then
go
you're-
of the eternal bliss,
Yeah.
and you want to basically only enjoy the life
And plus-
which is limited.
Yeah,
And
why
the
not make
effects
the
of
most of this
alcohol-
life?
Okay, hold on.
But did you find out the two
illnesses.
alternatives I gave you? You tell me
Yeah.
logically who's better off.
Well, I think
Logically, who's better off?
if you
Because
made-
if I
if you
die
made the most
and
of
there
this
is nothing
life,
after
wouldn't you be well off if you made
Say again?
if you made the most of this life?
If I make the most of this life and then the other alternative does kick in, then I'm not really better off. But if you see, look, God, for example, God doesn't tell you to live your life like a hermit. Okay, He does tell you to enjoy your life. So you're allowed to have riches, you're allowed to have fast cars, you're allowed to have beautiful wife, you're allowed to. The only thing you're not allowed to have is what is going to have a bad impact on your body.
Okay.
Okay, and that happens to be alcohol, that happens to be drugs, that happens to be gambling, that happens to be all the bad things. So God has basically limited you.
Well, alcohol's not bad in moderation.
Alhamdulillah, don't worry.
Sorry, say again?
Alcohol's alright.
Well, that's what all the alcoholics say. Bro, one second.
Sorry.
That's what all alcoholics say, that they're going to be
Yeah, but not
responsible.
everyone's an alcoholic, are they?
I'm not saying everyone is alcoholic, but every alcoholic at one point said what you said.
Yeah, but most people can drink alcohol responsibly without
Yeah, but
without
even-
it ruining their
Most
lives.
people?
Most
You ever been out on Friday night?
those responsible people who are actually basically
Well,
vomiting and they're
that
falling.
sort of behaviour is excessive, but I mean, you don't have to be like that.
That's
to
the
drink
majority,
alcohol.
though.
Yeah, but you say you don't have to be. But the thing is,
Maybe
after
among young people.
a few, this thing doesn't work as good as it was before.
There's no one in this world who drinks alcohol and doesn't get drunk.
Can I just go back to the
Like-
Pascal wager?
Yeah, but getting
Or
drunk-
they
getting drunk now and
intentionally,
again
oh,
is-
I'm going to have one,
Getting
but I'm
drunk
not
now
going
and
to get
again
drunk.
is not-
Because once you
If you
have
do it all
one,
the
you want
time,
another
it's
one,
not
you want another one.
Can I just clarify
Want the
something
buzz?
about the Pascal wager? Let me just clarify
Alright,
for you. Yeah? As I said, all what the brother was asking is who's taking the bigger risk. Now hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify for you.
The
So if
unbeliever
you
or the
believe,
believer?
hold on. If you die and everything goes black, there's nothing there. Okay. Who's taking the bigger risk, me or you? Now let's say, look, I spent my life. You're saying, oh, you're praying, you're doing this, and you wasted your life. Yeah, but when it goes all black, I'm not going to know that, am I?
Well, I don't think prayer's a waste of time.
Okay,
It's
fair
half
play.
an hour a day.
I'm just saying, hold on a second.
Whole day.
It doesn't say, if I did die, would I, like you said, oh no, but we can fornicate, we can chill out, drink alcohol. You're missing out on all that.
Well,
right?
I'm saying that that's what you expect in heaven, so
No,
why
no,
not
no,
do
no,
it here?
I'm not going to that subject. What I'm saying is,
But you're allowed to do it here.
Yeah.
Who said you're not?
Well,
But do
yeah,
it in
yeah,
a
yeah.
legal way.
legal way, yeah.
Oh, right, in a legal way.
But
Yeah,
my
that
point,
means you have a
legal,
wife
legal.
Get married.
and you
Wives.
have yes.
So my
Well,
point is, sorry.
Depends how many mother-in-laws you can handle.
So my point is, yeah, as we said, if I pass away and it's all black, and you passed away and it's all black, and you were right, correct? What did you gain? Nothing. Now, what did I lose? Absolutely nothing.
Well,
Am I
guess,
right or
okay,
no?
well, what did I gain?
Did you get anything? Okay, you chilled out more than me in life, right? But would you know about it at that
Not
point?
having to live by a belief system,
Belief
which is
system,
like
etc.
wrong.
Right, but would you know about it at that time? Could you turn to me and say, haha, no, we couldn't.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Okay,
It's
so,
all black.
so you're asking me what are the negative effects of religion?
I'm saying, no. What I'm saying is in Pascal's wager.
Give him the both versions. Both,
Yeah. Pascal's
Option
wager.
one,
What's
option
the,
two.
negative effect
It's
of not
option one and
believing?
option two.
Sorry, hold on a second, bros. If we die and it goes all black,
Who's taking the bigger risk? like you
who's
said?
taking the bigger risk? I don't lose nothing. You don't lose nothing. None of us know any better. On the other hand, if I'm right and we pass away and there is a God, I'm fine. But you're going to be in big trouble. Am I right? In that scenario, who is taking the bigger risk? Just
Well, I mean, I'm going to be in big trouble. What? Because I'm going to be tortured.
no.
by a
I'm just
horrible
saying. I'm saying. Look, if you
creature
said,
for eternity.
well, let's say that's
If
the
you're worried
truth.
about
If
that, you
that's the
should do
truth-
something about it.
If that's the truth,
I can't imagine that God would ever be so
Hold on a second.
sadistic and
Hold on a
evil.
second. Why?
That means you believe in God.
Anyway, don't worry about
No,
that.
I said I can't imagine that he would be that sort
In
of
those,
horrific.
sorry, in those circumstances though, let's just have a look at this.
Why,
then
why
we
would
can-
the God that created
I
like
can
a universe
explain
like
that.
this
I
be
can
such
explain that to you.
Because he's the creator and he decided this is the
Sorry,
way it
hold on
is.
a second.
Yeah, I know.
Brother, we can move on and discuss that, but let's have a look at this. Who is taking the bigger risk? Let's just look at it like that for a
Who's
second.
taking the bigger risk?
If you go on disbelieving, and let's say we both die,
Yeah.
who's the bigger risk? Me or you? Just don't worry about why and this. We
Okay,
can
no,
we can
it's
discuss
a good,
that.
good question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question, yeah. But what's the answer? If it goes all black, I'll tell you the answer then, brother. If you're not going to go there. If it goes
No,
all
I'm thinking
black,
about it.
okay, no problem. Go ahead.
No, finish what you're saying.
If it goes all black, brother, I lose nothing. On the other hand, if there's a God there and you haven't obeyed, you're in
You're
big trouble.
basically
Right,
gambling
okay,
with
so
the
I think,
afterlife.
so I think the point is like, what, are there any downsides to religion?
Who's the risk? All I'm asking you is, all I'm telling you.
That's what it sounds like to me. Like, if,
Okay, what do you think are the
because
downsides of
obviously,
religion?
if there's no downsides to religion or whatever,
Yeah.
but and there's only a plus side, which is you might get to go to heaven. Then,
I think more sorry.
then it makes sense to be religious, right?
Okay, I'll tell you what. What are
Right,
what do you
correct.
think are the
Yeah, but I mean,
downsides
but
of
the thing is
religion?
that-
You tell me. What are the downsides of
What are
religion?
the
That
downsides?
imagine, like, look,